the haunted hotel room guests never check out from. In 1927, the Cecil Hotel opened its doors in downtown Los Angeles. It was a palace of luxury, a place where travelers could experience the glamour of a booming city. The lobby was a masterpiece. Marble floors polished like mirrors, stained glass windows glowing in the California sun, and chandeliers that glittered like gold. For its first guests, the Cecil was a dream come true, a safe haven in the city of angels. But dreams don't last forever. As Los Angeles grew and changed, shadows began to gather around the Cecil. What was once a jewel of hospitality was already destined to become something much darker. But the promise of the Cecil Hotel didn't last long. By the 1930s, the Great Depression had struck Los Angeles. The once bustling streets around the hotel began to crumble, businesses closed, and crime crept into the heart of the city. The Cecil, once marketed as a glamorous getaway, lowered its prices to survive. Instead of wealthy tourists, it began attracting long-term residents, the unemployed, and those with nowhere else to go. The neighborhood became part of what is now known as Skid Row, an area notorious for poverty, addiction, and violence. The shining jewel of 1927 had become a fading shadow, and with it, the hotel's story turned from hospitality to horror. As the years passed, the Cecil became a magnet for tragedy. Beginning in the 1930s, newspapers started reporting a disturbing pattern. Guests who checked in never checked out. Mysterious deaths, unexplained falls, and a series of suicides cast a shadow over the building. Residents spoke of an overwhelming sadness that seemed to cling to the halls. Some believed the very walls absorbed the grief of those who came here in despair. Reporters began whispering about a curse, and the Cecil was no longer just another hotel. It was becoming something far more sinister, a place where fate itself seemed twisted against those inside. Over time, guests at the Cecil began reporting experiences that couldn't be explained by bad luck or crime. Some said they felt watched as they walked down empty hallways. Others claimed to hear whispers calling their names in the dead of night. Elevators would stop on random floors with no one inside. Doors creaked open as if pushed by unseen hands. And in certain rooms, guests described shadows moving across the walls, even when no one else was there. Paranormal investigators later visited the Cecil, capturing strange audio recordings and unexplained figures on camera. Many left convinced the hotel was more than just haunted by its history. It was alive with something that refused to leave. The Cecil's reputation grew even darker in the 80s. It wasn't just the tragedies. It was the people who chose to call it home. One of the most feared criminals in Los Angeles history, Richard Ramirez, known as the Night Stalker, lived at the Cecil while carrying out his spree of terror. Residents remembered seeing him return late at night, often barefoot, slipping into the elevator as if the shadows themselves welcomed him. Years later, Austrian killer Jack Unterweger also checked into the Cecil. Investigators believe he deliberately chose the hotel because of its dark history. Two killers from opposite sides of the world, finding comfort in the same cursed walls. The hotel was no longer just a witness to tragedy. It had become a safe haven for evil. In January 2013, a young student named Elisa Lam checked into the Cecil Hotel while traveling from Canada. At first, her trip seemed ordinary. She explored Los Angeles, shared her thoughts online, and stayed in contact with her family. But just days later, Elisa vanished without a trace. Police searched the building, but there were no answers. Then, investigators released a piece of footage that stunned the world. Captured by the hotel's security camera, Elisa is seen inside an elevator. She presses multiple buttons, steps in and out nervously, and makes unusual gestures with her hands, as if communicating with someone unseen. Sometimes she hides in the corner, other times she peers out as though she's being followed. This was the last known sighting of Elisa Lam, alive. After weeks of searching, guests at the Cecil began complaining about the water. The pressure was low and some reported strange tastes. Maintenance workers were sent to the rooftop to inspect the hotel's massive water tanks. What they discovered shocked the world. Elisa Lam's body was inside one of the tanks. The rooftop was locked, the tanks were difficult to access, and alarms should have been triggered if anyone climbed up. Yet somehow, Elisa ended up there, with no clear explanation of how her death was ruled accidental. But questions linger. Why was she acting so strangely in the elevator footage? How did she reach the rooftop? And why did investigators find so few answers? The mystery only deepened, and so did the Cecil's reputation as one of the most haunted hotels in the world. The mystery of Elisa Lam reignited the Cecil Hotel's reputation around the world. Paranormal investigators flocked to its halls, convinced the building was more than just unlucky. It was haunted. Teams reported cold spots in rooms, unexplained shadows on walls, and electronic devices malfunctioning in strange ways. Some even claimed to capture ghostly voices through audio recorders, whispers too faint for the human ear. Pop culture also embraced the Cecil's darkness. Documentaries, television shows, and even fictional horror stories began drawing inspiration from the hotel. The world was fascinated because the Cecil wasn't just a hotel anymore, it was a legend. A place where history, tragedy, and the supernatural seemed forever bound together. Today, the Cecil Hotel has been rebranded and renovated, but its reputation can never truly be erased. No matter how many times the name changes, the stories remain. For nearly a century, this building has been linked to tragedy, crime, and mysteries that defy explanation. Some say it's cursed, others believe it's haunted, and a few insist it's simply a victim of its location. But one thing is certain, the Cecil Hotel continues to draw the curious and the brave, people who want to see for themselves if the legends are true. So the next time you book a hotel room, ask yourself, are you really alone? Or are you sharing it with someone or something that refuses to check out? Because at the Cecil Hotel, some guests never leave.